Hey guys, what's up? I'm in the woods again looking for some spruce cones. And here we seem to have a few of them, so I'm gonna grab a couple of these and head back home. Alrighty, I'm back from the forest now and I've gathered a couple of these spruce cones. But these things are not ready to be made into anything yet. So I need to wait a couple of days and let them dry a little bit more. What that does, it makes the wings of the spruce cone splay out a little bit more, like this. And as you can see, the wings of the spruce cone are way more splayed out now. And this should be pretty much perfect for the project I have in mind. So let's get on with it and start making the lure. I'm going to hot glue these spruce cones into a flat surface. So since they are pretty cylindrical, I need to take a little bit off so it'll be easier to stick them on. Next I'm going to make a mold box to house the spruce cone and of course the resin that I will be pouring in. Once the mold box is done, I'll just hot glue the spruce cone onto some cooking foil. Cooking foil just because it's really easy to take it off usually from any kind of material, especially resin. And then I'll just basically hot glue the shit out of the mold box and make sure that none of the resin gets leaked out later when I actually start to pour. I'm going to pour some resin that has sort of a natural bone color to it. You could of course color the resin, but I think for this project the bone color will bring out the natural dark color of the spruce cone even more. When I pour the resin, I'm going to just cover the half of the spruce cone. That way I don't have to guess where the middle part is when I split the cone in two. Now that the resin has cured enough, I'm going to tear the mold box apart. And as you can see, I've actually put some tape to the inner parts of the box. Basically what this does, it helps me clean the wooden parts later on, which is gonna be a pain in the ass if you don't do this. I figured it would be easiest to just saw off the exposed part of the pine cone and then deal with the rest with just sanding it flush. Now that I've sanded the blocks of resin, I'm going to shape them a little bit. And I start that off by drawing the outline of the lure that I'm going to be making. Now, since I still don't have a bandsaw, I figured it would be easiest just to use a handsaw and just saw off pieces and take care of business that way. As my sawing job was pretty rough, to say the least, I figured it would be easiest just to take care of the rest with my multi-tool. The nature of this technique kind of demands that I can't take anything off from the sides of the lure if I want to retain that cool effect of the spruce cone. So what I need to do in order to get a tapered look to this lure, which I'm going for now, is I need to cut from the inner part of the lure and then later join two halves of these together, and I will have a tapered tail. So since I'm going to be joining two halves together, I need to make sure that both of them are flat. So that means more sanding. I had this idea of putting some rattle chambers inside my hybrid bait for added attraction for the fish. So before drilling anything, I needed to make sure that I get them accurately marked on both halves. I put some tape on the drill bit to make sure that I wouldn't actually drill through the bait, which would be pretty disastrous at this point. So next I'm going to join the two halves together, and I figured that the best way to do this would be to use the same resin with added microspheres that cause the resin to expand a little bit. Now that the resin is cured, I'm just going to trim off the excess resin that has seeped out from the seam, and then just start to shape the lure. Now I'm just going to start to shape the lure, and I'm going to start off by sanding the profile. So before actually rounding off the edges, I decided that it would be probably the best time to actually drill the holes for the hook hangers. And I'm just going to use some screw eyes for this one. So now I can finally start rounding off the edges of my bait. I usually like to start it with a blade of some sorts, and I don't really have a plan here how much I will take off. I will just basically eyeball it and work on it until it looks good to me. Now that I've roughly shaped the lure and I'm pretty satisfied of how it looks, I'm just going to round it off even more with some sandpaper. And this is grit 60. So since this is going to be a hybrid bait, I'm going to have some sort of attachment point for the tail itself. And I've seen a lot of people use this kind of like a coil screw thing to screw their tails into the bait. But I'm actually going to use a real screw for this one, which works just as well. I'm just going to mix some 5-minute epoxy and glue everything in now. I'm going to dip the bait into some lure varnish and seal the spruce cone core before epoxying the bait, as it tends to bubble up like crazy. And for anyone wondering what sort of lure varnish I use, I'm using Cap Coating's hard lure varnish. I had this idea of making this bait kind of abstract and not mimic anything specific, so it made sense to leave it sort of naked from any paint. But I did end up having this noticeable seam in the back and the belly, so I wanted to blend that in with some paint, because honestly it annoyed the hell out of me. I'm going to epoxy the bait now, and make sure that I have some sort of coverage from the pike's teeth that will undoubtedly be all over this thing once I get out there. Well, that was kind of too small for me, so let's try to get a bigger one. Well, at least I can see that the bait is attracting some pike. Hopefully I'm gonna get something bigger today, so just have to wait and see. So I was able to catch another one. Whoa, this guy has a lot of power in it. Whoa. Come on now, settle down. Jeez. My boat is floating full of water, not good. Okay. I have to take my pliers here. Well hooked. Okay, got it. Hopefully the pike is gonna be able to survive that. If not, I'm gonna have to take that for food. I think I'm gonna have to keep it here for a little while. That's the problem with fishing with this sort of temperatures. It's so freaking hot that it's not easy for these guys to survive. I'm sure that the gills are full. Alright, there it goes. There it goes. Good. Great. Right, let's try to catch another one even bigger than that. Alright, another fish on. Another small one. Very likely hooked. Oh, that was an easy catch and release. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch anything else after the last fish. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this little video again, and I'll see you guys on the next one.